Hi, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Narcissistic families have unhealthy communication styles, and I want to talk to you about that today. You may have experienced this growing up. You may be experiencing this right now. I think it's important to recognize and break these unhealthy patterns so that we can overcome and shut down the cycles of abuse. When you or people around you are in hot brain mode or Hulk mode, the sympathetic nervous system is ruling the roost. And when that happens, there's going to be a number of things that are going to take place. There's going to be irrational, impulsive, immoral, illogical behavior. And that's going to fuel poor communication. How does this play out? Well, I thought of a few ways that this plays out and some ways that you can overcome this. One is denial. There's a huge elephant in the room. It's big, it's wrinkly, it's gray, it's dominant, it's stinky, and no one is acknowledging it. And that happens a lot in narcissistic families. The second way that I thought of is silence. Shh, don't tell anybody. This is our secret. Or, hey, don't air our dirty laundry out in public. Don't talk about this out in public. This is between us. We got to keep this in the family. Or being silent in terms of not talking about emotions or communicating emotions. Hey, stop crying. Don't, quit your crying. I'll give you something to cry about if you keep on crying. Threat of more abuse on top of not being able to express your feelings. And definitely, in addition to not expressing emotions, there's not acknowledging what happened to you or what's going on in the family. A third thing that I thought of is the use of privacy, and specifically using privacy as an excuse to shroud the narcissistic abuse that's going on in the family in secrecy and keeping it undercover, under wraps. Also, this could happen in the case of individual narcissists where they use privacy as a way to shroud their abusive and toxic behavior. And fourthly, empty words. Now, work with me on this one. A lot of times, because narcissistic families have poor communication, there are a lot of things that are said that just don't have any meaning or any real emotion behind them. Or they have emotion behind them, but they're not conveyed in a way that fully expresses the emotion that's underneath. I'll give you a couple of examples that I thought of. Maybe you can think of some more and put them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you come up with. One would be, well, it is what it is. Okay, and I understand that that's a popular phrase, and it has to do with accepting the reality of the way that things are. But we know that narcissists are very out of touch with reality and very much in denial of reality, let alone a narcissistic family. Then you've got a whole group of people that are denying reality, whether it's abuse taking place or just the messiness of the family, the poor relationships, the poor communication. So phrases like, oh, well, it is what it is, just doesn't really convey anything. There's no emotion being conveyed in that. I'm sure there's emotion behind it, but that's what we need to tap into. That's what you want to tap into so that it can be fully expressed. Another one that I thought of was, like that and like that. Okay, what's that mean? Again, empty phrases, empty words that probably deep down there's some emotion behind them, but there's a tendency to suppress the real emotion that's behind it and just settle for kind of an empty 2-cent phrase. And I think that within the context of narcissistic families and looking at narcissistic abuse, and even for me, I think about my own upbringing and some of the things that I heard growing up and that were just accepted as decent communication. Now, knowing what I know, once you know, it's just not okay. It's not really getting to the root of what's going on or what's being felt, more importantly. So what do? I think you have to break out. You have to speak up and speak out and speak your truth. Let your feelings be known. To break that cycle, break that pattern of poor communication. How do you do this? Well, use your words. Talk, journal, write letters, even if you don't send them. Whatever you choose to do, get out the emotions, get out what happened, and get rid of it. Get it out by getting specific. Secondly, make corrections. You may have to correct people around you, whether it's in your own family, when they start to promote and perpetuate those patterns of poor communication. I've had conversations with family members where I've had to say, no, that's not what happened, or that's not the case. It's this. And to really cut off the denial, stop the suppression of emotion, or the use of empty words and phrases that don't really convey true feelings. I've had to do that personally in conversations with my mother about my dad, where maybe she's quoted some of the empty phrases that he used to use and rely on to communicate, which really wasn't communicating. And I've had to double back and say, you know what, I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean by that? And then help her to go deep and to really tap into what's the feeling behind what you're saying, or what more specifically are you trying to communicate or convey. At one point, I felt really validated when I was at my dad's funeral. My uncle actually came up to me after I delivered some words about my dad, and he expressed a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation for me telling the truth. And I wasn't nasty about it, but I acknowledged the truth about the challenges in our relationship and some of the disappointments that I experienced in my life in dealing with him. And to hear my uncle say, you know what, you did a good job and you told the truth. And I remember fast forwarding to my uncle's funeral, I made a point of honoring him and his memory by acknowledging the fact that it really felt good to hear him acknowledge my decision to speak the truth. And I appreciated that. He didn't shut me down. He didn't shame me or anything. He thanked me because it helped him. Narcissistic families may have poor communication, and you may be experiencing that in your family, or you may be around extended family where communication is poor due to narcissistic and toxic dynamics that have been going on for generations. That doesn't mean that you have to promote or perpetuate that kind of communication. You can speak up, speak out, speak your truth, and you can be the change and break the cycle. You're not alone and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.